this video we're going to cover the basics of animation using ActionScript free. Just a basic lateral movement which will give you an introduction to creating functions, listening for events, and accessing a movie clip's properties, and then updating them based on the enter frame. Okay, so I'm going to choose new ActionScript free, and the first thing I need is some kind of graphic to be able to move and animate. In that case, I'm going to create a ball shape. So I'm going to hold the tool, and I'm going to draw an oval. By holding shift, I'll then constrain the proportions to make that into a circle. And if I double click on that object, I can then set the whole thing, convert it to a symbol, and I'm going to call that ball. Ball, I'm going to give a registration point in the center, so it moves a bit like ball, and then I can click OK. That will end up in the library. What you'll notice is on the properties of a movie clip, we've got an instance name, and this is one of the crucial things. That's why we would choose a movie clip over a graphic. An instance name allows us to refer to a specific instance of an object on the stage at runtime. Runtime is when the movie is actually running. So in that case, I'm just going to call this ball_MC, and anytime I want to speak to that, I can do so. So the basic fundamental step is accessing properties using ActionScript. Now we can access ActionScript or create ActionScript functions, etc. by finding actions in the window or pressing F9. I'm just going to keep this open by clicking the double arrow expand panels so that it stays open for me. Okay, and we can access ball_MC simply by talking to it, calling it by its name, and then we can define properties, or we can invoke methods. Methods are a list of instructions, a function that can be acted upon a movie clip, but at this point in time we're just going to work with properties. So the property we're going to set is its X property, and we do that. We put a dot which connects the instance to its property, a bit like an address almost, and .x equals, and this will set it to a specific point on the stage, irrelevant of where it's been positioned currently. So if I set that to 500, semicolon terminates the line, and then test that by pressing Ctrl and Enter, you'll notice that it just drops down across to 500 pixels across. Let's double check that. So this is currently watching it to 1500. You'll notice that it's right across at the other side of the stage, so it's a very definite movement. Okay, so based on that principle, we could change that property on a regular basis to give the illusion of movement, and thus animating it using ActionScript. And this is slightly more complicated because we need to create a function to do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare ball_MC as a variable, so that by saying that it's a movie clip and telling Flash what it is, I can then access all of the properties and methods that come with a movie clip, and I can also get code in whenever I type its name, press dot. I can access the methods and properties. So for instance, you might see there alpha, that quite an obvious one to do with the transparency of an object. Currently I'm going to look for its X property again. Let's type X. There you see X appears. So I'm going to give that a value of 50, and then when I test this again by pressing Ctrl and Enter, just move 50 pixels across from where it was originally. And now we need to make that happen on a regular basis. We'll do it based on the frame rate, and to do that we need to tell ActionScript that it's going to be listening for something. So I find a method called addEventListener, which you can add to all movie clips, and also to the stage itself. An event and an enter frame. Just return that. Now, addEventListener has two parameters. One is the event that it's listening for, and the other is the listener that responds to that event. So in that case, I'm going to call it moveBall to give it a descriptive name. So whenever enter frame fires, which is every frame, so in this movie 30 frames per second, I believe, that would be 30 times, I will invoke the function moveBall, which I've not yet generated, but I'm going to start typing now. I'll put that here, function, name of which is moveBall, the keyword goes purple, and inside of brackets I can then put another parameter, that is something that I'm going to be listening for, which is the event, and I attach that to a variable, and the shorthand is usually to call it E for event, until it is listening for event. I then end that line with a curly bracket, press return, and it forms the basis of a basic function. Inside of there, I'll put the ball and c.x plus equals 50, and what should happen then is when we test it, Control Enter, you'll notice it moving very quickly across the screen. And that is the basic method for animating movie clips in Flash, and it can be very powerful when you do some more complicated effects.